Hi everyone. This is the voice behind the noise. And I am Myron. The foundation of the modern monetary system is violence. Only institutions that master mass violence can issue currencies without precious metal reserves. More than 70 years of peace after World War II made many people forget this fundamental principle. In the days when the gold standard still existed, violence was already a sufficient condition for issuing currency. As long as you had enough violence, you could issue currency at will without any gold or silver backing. If the currency you issued was not accepted, then it only shows that the violence you have mastered is not strong enough. After the end of the gold standard system, violence has become a necessary condition for issuing currency. Currency without sufficient violence will either be declared illegal by violent institutions, such as Bitcoin in China, or it will become a tool used by a violent government to exploit idiots, like Bitcoin in the US. In today's world, only countries with nuclear weapons can have real monetary sovereignty, and only countries with nuclear weapons, and a sufficient number of attack-type heavy weapons have the potential to threaten the hegemony of the US dollar. Without these things, countries with high economic growth or rich resources, such as Japan, Germany, and some countries in the Middle East and Southeast Asia, are just big fat sheep waiting to be ate in the eyes of Americans. To deal with these countries, in most cases, there is no need to use force. It only needs a round of currency contraction and expansion, and at most, with some diplomatic pressure, they can be easily harvested, not only to harvest wealth, but also to harvest high-tech talents. In contrast, harvesting Germany is more troublesome than harvesting Japan, because Germany is backed by France, and Japan has no other nuclear powers to support him. After China has risen to become the second largest economy, the United States is still obsessed with NATO's eastward expansion and messing with Ukraine. The key point is that Russia still has too many nuclear weapons, and it also inherited most of the Soviet military-industrial system. This level of nuclear military-industrial power is always a great potential threat to the hegemony of the US dollar. Yeltsin's shock therapy sold energy, minerals, and banks, but military-industrial enterprises and research institutions were systematically preserved. If the number of nuclear weapons in Russia is not reduced to a reasonable level, and the military-industrial system left by the Soviet Union is not completely smashed, the United States will not sleep well at night. What we should know is that America's ruling elites have always targeted strategic opponents based on levels of violence, not GDP. This is why they have always believed that weakening Russia is more important than containing China. Even though Russia had abandoned the socialist road in 1991 and turned to Europe and the United States in the ideological field, even though China's GDP had surpassed Russia's as early as 1993, and now it is 8 or 9 times closer to 10 times, the Americans always put the Russia is at the top of the list of opponents to be eliminated, with China only in second place. In order to maintain Russia's status as a great power, Putin has maintained a high level of long-term military expenditure, and most of the military expenditures have gone to the maintenance of nuclear weapons. This provides excellent cover for China's rise. China has long adhered to the principle of enough nuclear weapons. No one knows how much is enough except for the core decision-makers. Anyway, it must be much less than the United States and Russia. This low-key approach has caused the outside world to have a great misjudgment of China's national strength for a long time. Even small countries like Turkey and Iran feel that they can find a sense of superiority from China. For the RMB to be internationalized, it is inconceivable that it does not have a credible ability to export violence. Similarly, in order to break the internationalization monopoly of the US dollar, no one will advertise that Americans are not keeping their promises and issuing banknotes indiscriminately. In order to break the US dollar's hegemony, the first thing is to break the credibility of the US export of violence. Now, as soon as Russia's cannons in Ukraine are fired, a chain reaction is imminent. All countries and peoples of the world were awakened by the sound of the Russian-Ukrainian war, and found that the violent credit of the United States was not so reliable. In fact, it is also bullying the soft and afraid of the hard, and when it really encounters hard stubbornness, it can only start war of words. In the previous Sino-US trade war, the United States has already lost in terms of soft power, but everyone still has to look at the contest of hard power to rest assured. Now the battle for hard power is finally here. Before the Russian-Ukrainian war, the United States had already suffered defeats in Syria, and it also withdrew its troops in Afghanistan. The Russian-Ukrainian war was a complete showdown. Everyone found that the United States did not have a trump card, what they only have are some small moves such as economic sanctions. When the violent credit is broken, the end of dollar hegemony is really coming. The Russian-Ukrainian war toppled the first domino, which will inevitably cause a series of chain reactions. The transition of the entire world from a unipolar world to a multipolar world has since pressed the accelerator button, and everything will be completely different from the order we were familiar with before. Okay, that's all for today. See you in the next video.